Hello, I'm Linda Ross Turner from Linda Ross Ministries. I invite you to join our YouTube channel where we strive to bring hope to the desolate areas of your life. Please subscribe and like our videos and share your thoughts with us. Invite a friend to become part of our family. Connect with us on all social media platforms and be part of a thriving community. Now, just sit back and relax as I share with you a word from the Lord. Drown out the voices that distract you from your God-given assignment. Nehemiah was tasked by God to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. After hearing that the city was vulnerable because its walls were in ruins, Nehemiah prayed for guidance and then asked King Artaxerxes for permission to return and rebuild them. The task of rebuilding the walls was both a physical and spiritual one, symbolizing the restoration of Jerusalem and the Jewish people. Nehemiah recognized the magnitude of his task and understood that he needed God's guidance. He acknowledged that without God's intervention, the work could not be accomplished. How many of you are aware that if God gives you an assignment, He will make provision? However, just because the Lord makes provision doesn't mean that the assignment will be easy. When the Lord gives us an assignment, are we willing to accept it on His terms? You will encounter people who try to distract you from your assignment. There will be those who believe their way is better, who may criticize your talent, wisdom, resources, experience, and education. If you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that God has called you to a work, do not be lured by those trying to stop you. There will be those that will try to stop you from your God-given assignment. But you must be willing to heed the voice of God, no matter how tempting it may be, no matter how many people they will bring before you to attempt to sidetrack you from your God-given assignment. I stress that, God-given assignment, because see, we may have some assignments and they may be good assignments, but are they God-given assignments? If it's not a God-given assignment, you may be able to make some allowances for that. But when God has given you an assignment, we cannot allow the voices to distract us from where God is leading us. The question again, when the Lord gives us an assignment, are we willing to accept it on his terms. You will encounter people who try to distract you from your assignment. There will be those who believe their way is better. If you know that God has called you, move forward. In Nehemiah's case, there was a conspiracy aimed at halting the building of the wall. And there may be a conspiracy aimed to halt you from doing what God has called you to do. In Nehemiah's case, it's described in Nehemiah's 6th chapter, and I'm going to read the 1st through the 7th verses. But in your free time, read Nehemiah, the entire book of Nehemiah. I believe you will be encouraged by this word. Now, there's this conspiracy against him. They're watching Nehemiah. Now, when Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem the Arab, and the rest of our enemies heard that I had built the wall and that there was no breach left in it, although up to that time I had not set up the doors and the gates, Sanballat and Geshem sent to me, saying, "Come and let us meet together at Hakaphirim in the plain of Onu." But they intended to do me harm. I sent messengers to them saying, "I am doing a great work and cannot come down. Why should the work stop while I leave it and come down to you?" They sent to me 4 times in this way, and I answered them in the same manner. In the same way, Sanballat, for the 5th time, sent his servant to me with an open letter in his hand. In it was written, "It is reported among the nations," and Geshem also says it, "that you and the Jews intend to rebel. That is why you are building the wall. According to these reports, you wish to become their king. You have also set up prophets to proclaim concerning you in Jerusalem, 'There is a king in Judah.' And now the king will hear of these reports. So now, come and let us take counsel together." Now they have conjured up this lie, trying to convince Nehemiah to stop, to halt what God has called him to do. And they go at great lengths to make up this lie. Does it sound familiar to any of you? Someone see that you are doing what the Lord has commissioned you to do. And for whatever reason, they want to stop you in your tracks. They want to distract you. They want to hinder you from moving forward. Maybe they felt that you weren't worthy of that. Maybe they thought that they deserved to do that. Maybe they felt that the Lord should have told them to do it. Maybe they felt that you were going to take some credit. Maybe they wanted the credit. We don't know. But one thing we do know for certain: if you are not in right standing with God and you are keeping your face before Him, you will fall for anything. It may sound right. And if you don't know God's voice, you will fall for the lie. Be not deceived. Be not deceived by the lies of the enemy. These men were afraid of Nehemiah. And I don't believe so much afraid of Nehemiah, but afraid of Nehemiah's God, the God of the universe. God is calling for those that are willing to heed his command, his voice. If he gives you an assignment, are you willing? Yes, you will have those that will tell you it's impossible. You cannot do it. You don't have the resources. You don't have the money. You are not educated enough. You didn't go to the right schools. You're not the right color. You're female. You're male. Where, you don't belong there. You can't get in there. You can't get into that school. Drown out those voices. Drown them out. Nehemiah was wise enough to understand that it was a trick, it was a lie, and that they were going to say whatever they thought they could say to lure him away from his task. They figured, okay, I'll tell them that, you want to be king, you want to be in charge, you want to be in control. Nehemiah knew that was a lie, and he did not fall for the lie. Many of us would get upset, and we would argue. We would be ready to fight because they lied on us, and we know it was a lie, and so now we're ready to get even. We're ready to throw down. And that's all the enemy wants. He wants to set us up where we would give a bad name for ourselves and our God. But Nehemiah was not going to be moved by their lies and their trickery. Nehemiah knew what he was instructed to do by God. The question is, are you sure of what God has called you to do? Do you know what the Lord has assigned for you? Or do you need someone to tell you what God has told you to do? You need to hear the voice of the Lord for yourself. Nehemiah, he recognized what they were doing as a conspiracy. It was a setup to dismantle and discredit the work of the Lord. It's essential that we maintain a right relationship with God and not allow distractions to lead us off track. In Nehemiah, the 6th chapter and the 14th verse, he said to the Lord, "Remember Tobiah and Sanballat, oh my God, according to these things that they did, and also the prophetess Noadiah and the rest of the prophets who wanted to make me afraid." So what did Tobiah and Sanballat do? Oh, they called on the prophets and the prophetess. They called on them to stir up something, to try to make Nehemiah afraid. They had the lying prophet and the lying prophetess to say something that they knew wasn't the truth. But guess what? Nehemiah wasn't going to try to deal with them on his own. He said, God, you remember them. You remember them. You remember Tobias and Sanballat. You remember them, oh my God, according to these things that they did. And also the prophetess Noadiah, and the rest of the prophets who wanted to make me afraid. God has called you to a work, and there are those who want you to be afraid. There are those who want you to think that the assignment is too big for you. And guess what? The assignment is too big for you. The assignment is too big for me. But God gave you the assignment, so He's going to give you everything you need to fulfill it. Because God is with you. God is for you, and He will see you through. He will lead you. When we go, in our own strength, that's when we mess up. But we recognize that, you know what? I can't go and do this thing on my own. I can't do it in my own strength. I need you, Lord. I need you. You will have those who claim to have heard from God attempting to distract you. Oh, we've seen it. We've seen it in situations like the Jim Jones massacre. Many people were led to their death by listening to a false prophet saying that he heard from God. And it led them to the slaughter. That's just one example. People will use their influence and position to sway your decisions. You must be sure of your calling and your assignment. You must know who you are and whose you are. God will lead you to the right people to assist you. So I'm not telling you that we will not need people. We need the right people. We need God-fearing people. We need people that will go before the Lord and seek God's face. We don't need just an able body. We need people that love the Lord with all of their heart. The enemy is cunning, but God is all wise. It's crucial that we do not compromise our faith or allow others to whisper in our ears. Nehemiah understood his assignment and refused to let fear tactics or manipulation impede what God had tasked him with. Because of his obedience, what should have taken a considerable amount of time was completed in just 52 days. You must remain focused. Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 15:58, "Therefore, my beloved brothers, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that in the Lord your labor is not in vain." So be steadfast, immovable. Do not be swayed. Know that what you do for Christ will last. Your labor will not be in vain if you refuse to let the opinions, comments, and actions of others unravel you and your assignment. God is looking for dedicated individuals who are willing to run the race with precision. If the Lord says go left, you will not go right. If someone tries to bully you, and see, that's exactly what was happening with Nehemiah. They were trying to bully him. Yeah, see, you will know, I'm not going to be moved by that. Are you willing to stand firm when the bullies come? Are you willing to stand firm when the manipulations start taking place? Because they will try to manipulate you. Instead, will you say, I will not be moved. I will not abandon the assignment God has entrusted to me. Nehemiah was able to recognize that the prophets, and other high-ranking individuals were lying and attempting to discredit him. He knew that God would deal with them, and that's what we must know. We must know that when people come and they try to set a trap for you, you don't have to fight that battle. It's the Lord's. God will deal with them. You must understand that none of the events in Nehemiah's life were a surprise to God. God knew his character, faithfulness, and willingness to undertake the task. The question is, are we willing to be like Nehemiah? Will we seek God's face and ask for godly people to work alongside us? Will we turn away those whom God hasn't assigned to us, regardless of their position, wealth, or influence? Sometimes there are those watching you from a distance, waiting for you to slip so they can step in. As Matthew 10:16 says, behold, I am sending you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. So be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. So you must be wise. Be on the lookout. Because we do have an adversary, the devil, who seeks to devour us. We are living in perilous times. And if we are not careful, we can be deceived. Nehemiah faced challenges that were significant in his own context, which would still be daunting for us today. We have AI and social media platforms, which aren't inherently bad. But when we allow the voices of manipulators and influencers to distract us, that's when things go south. The Lord is seeking those willing to seek his face, be led by his spirit, and say no to those who wish to control others by exploiting them, ultimately leading them away from God. Nehemiah sought permission from the king to rebuild the wall, and the king respected Nehemiah because of his faithfulness and integrity. When he approached the king, he had no trouble obtaining permission. You can be sure that people are watching you, and those who will walk beside you will do so because they recognize your character. Be aware that some will attempt to destroy your reputation. But if God is for you, who can be against you? When God has given you a task, examine everything associated with it. Remember, God will not blindside you. Once everything is laid out because you ask the Lord for guidance, he will allow you to set things into motion. When Nehemiah arrived in Jerusalem, he inspected the walls, presented his plan to the leaders, and motivated the people to work together to rebuild the wall in just 52 days. Now, what's the spiritual meaning behind that? The rebuilding of the wall was not merely a construction project. It was a symbol of spiritual renewal and the restoration of their identity as God's people. Whatever the Lord has commissioned you to do, recognize that it's not just a project. Just as Nehemiah understood that spiritual renewal will accompany the rebuilding of the wall, know that drowning out the voices of those who seek to intercept the anointing and the work that God has placed within you sets the stage for spiritual renewal and healing for the people. Drown out the voices that are sent to distract you from your God-given assignment. Thank you for visiting our YouTube channel. I hope you felt encouraged and inspired by the message. Remember to never give up and keep moving forward. Your engagement helps us spread hope to those who need it most. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, share, and comment. God bless you abundantly.